Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We saw some pretty significant changes to the ranged meta with Season 3, especially when we're talking snipers, but also some rifles got some pretty big changes as well. And with that, alongside the addition of a brand new rifle with Season 3, I wanted to break down the general rifle meta and take a look at what ones are the best. What are the top tier meta ARs in the game right now? So that's exactly what we're doing here today. As we go through it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, each and every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. That way you can always stay up to date. So we're here on my general rifle tier list that we've looked at before. And obviously this is pre-season 3. So there are some updates that we got to implement onto this list. First things first, we do have the new Nikita AVT rifle. And I think this thing is competitive at best, but only in the sense as a sniper support rifle. Over range, it just really doesn't feel all that great in my opinion. So I'm not really on board with it being anything above competitive, and it's borderline competitive at that just because it is more stuck in that sniper support niche. That said, it's not the worst rifle in the world. I also want to make one other change based on the video we made just before Season 3. The FR556, it's no longer garbage. I mean, the thing has a better TTK than the Cold War AK. It's just awkward and clunky to use, which is why I don't think it's a competitive rifle and you won't see many players using it, but it does have stats that are very, very solid for what they are. But let's talk the general meta here. What's the top meta looking like? Honestly, we see quite a few constants still. XM4, it got a slight nerf, but it also got a slight buff for range as well. It stays in top meta. It is still a great choice. Cold War AK, I would say, is probably the best gun in the game if you're a player who knows how to use it correctly and you got that recoil down. I mean, very few guns will outgun the Cold War AK over long range if you have good aim. C58, still a powerhouse and still dominates both maps, Rebirth and Caldera. Has a little bit more recoil, but if you can land your shots just like with the AK, it is hard to outgun. Vargo, nearly identical to the XM4 and AK. It's right there with it, has great stats, great control even after the nerf, which honestly kind of feels like a buff in a sense. It makes the recoil larger, like in total size from first bullet to last, but it makes it simpler to control, which is kind of interesting. The Automaton, I feel like, is a meta option for Vanguard rifles, and because of its low recoil, it's very easy to use. Alongside that, I also want to bump up the STG into the top meta area alongside the Automaton, because to me, those two are sort of interchangeable as it goes. Through the first, I think, 40 meters, whatever the first damage range is for these guns, the Automaton is slightly better than the STG, but then over range, the STG is slightly better than the Automaton, so they sort of flip-flop back and forth there, and I feel like for that reason, they are almost equal in that sense for a ranged meta. AS44 up close is still dominating. You can build this thing out to be one of the best close-range guns in the game, so if you can handle the recoil yet again, it is easily a top tier weapon. Cooper Carbine, however, is getting knocked down to competitive just because, while on Rebirth it is okay, overall it's not like these weapons that can be good on both maps. On Caldera, the Cooper is just not it. It has a very slow TTK up close compared to a lot of these other rifles, and then past 20 meters, only 20 meters, it drops off significantly because the 300 health, it's just not really it anymore. Now, the Farah absolutely gets bumped up into top tier meta because it and the Vargo are basically a 1-to-1 of each other. The Farah just has a slightly better chest multiplier over long range. So those two are like neck and neck for being the same gun, right? And being equally as competitive. I also think the AMAX bumps up because on Caldera, it has one of the best TTKs with 300 health. Its recoil is all right. It could be better. You know, it's no Vargo, but it's got the power to back it up. So also a top tier meta option. I will say the one that I'm torn the most on is the EM2 because on Rebirth, it is a beast. On Caldera though, while it does have a good TTK, the recoil in those 50, 60, 70 plus meter fights, which is a lot of them, is a little bit overbearing in certain cases. So I feel like while it does have the power, its recoil is not to the point of the C58s or the AKs or the AMAX where it's usable in a lot of long range fights. It is a very high skill weapon for that reason. I don't think that makes it top meta. Other than that though, I feel like this list stands in a pretty solid spot. The Scar, the Odin, they suffer here. The Grav is decent as sniper support, so maybe we could bump that up to viable, but outside of that, we got a lot of mediocre rifles here, but we also have a lot of options for weapons that can hold their own on both maps, or weapons that can absolutely fry on both maps. So what I want to do is go ahead and break down the best setups for all these weapons in top meta. That way you guys got plenty of options for your rifles. So let's knock the vast majority of these top rifles out in one go, because as I'm sure you guys know, every single Cold War rifle setup is the exact same. So pay attention to this, because I know some players will ask, well, where's the XM4 setup? Where's the AK setup? For the XM4, for the AK, for the C58, for the Vargo, and for the Farah, the setups are all the exact same that we're going to build here on the Vargo as the example, but copy and paste it over to all those other rifles and it's the same setup. So we're going for Grew Suppressor, also going for Task Force or the RPK barrel equivalent, right? So best barrel, best muzzle for that. We're also going for Spetsnaz grip or Field Agent grip, depending on the gun, best control there. Either 45 or 60. This is just interchangeable depending on which map you're playing. If you're on Rebirth, run 45. If you're on Caldera, run 60. That extra ammo can definitely help out in squad fights. Then we're also going for the 3x optic. This setup, exact same like I just said on all the Cold War rifles. So yes, we're not showing the XM4 here just to save time, but this is the same setup for the XM4. Now for the STG, this actually got a buff with the Season 3 update, so I'm especially liking this now. First up, we are going for the AMAX silencer, keeping us off the radar, helping out with the control and the damage range. The 760mm barrel now has better range of velocity than ever before, so you absolutely love to see that. For the optic, this is all preference based. I love the 3 to 6 times. Other players might like the night vision. Other players might like the 2.5 times. Totally comes down to what you're the most comfortable with. Either going for the weighted stock or the folding stock here. Folding is a bit more aggressive and really solid for Rebirth. Weighted is the most consistent for the best accuracy, best control over range, right? So just comes down to what you value there. Underbarrel, obviously going for hand stop per usual. For the magazine, basic 60 Kurz extended mag here works just fine. You don't need any damage increasing or fire rate increasing mags for this one. Also going for lengthen for the better velocity. Gonna run polymer on here as well for better control. Perk 1, I like acrobatic or sleight of hand. None of these are really all that great. And then perk 2, we're gonna go for fully loaded and maximize that ammo. Now for the automaton, we're building a very similar setup, right? We're gonna go for the MX silencer yet again. We're also gonna go for the 600mm barrel, best control over range, which makes it super easy to use. Also going for the 3 to 6 times optic yet again. For the stock, we're going for padded, better control during sustained fire. You love to see that. Going for the hand stop once more. For the magazine, Sakura 75 extended works just fine here, just like over on the STG. Lengthened yet again. Also going for polymer yet again. Perk 1 here, going for tight grip for the better control, and then fully loaded once more for perk 2. Pretty standard Vanguard rifle setup for this one. Now the AS44 is a bit different because we're only focused on close range here to really just absolutely fry everyone. So first up, we're going for the recoil booster to increase that TTK, make it kill even faster. Falchion barrel, better fire rate yet again. So we're doing basically the exact same thing. 2.5 times optic to help out with the control close range, but also to make sure that we have something that's not too zoomed in, but not zoomed in enough to help out in some medium range fights if we have to use it there. Remove stock for that better movement speed, super ideal to help out with those close range fights. Carver foregrip for a better control factor, but also better hip fire, which you can definitely do on this setup. The 50 Gorenko is really, really good for this setup in particular because it's increasing the movement, the control, and the fire rate for obviously close range. Honestly, none of the ammo types here are that great for this gun just because lengthen's not really getting used to its utmost potential close range. Subsonic is all right, but you don't really get any benefits outside of staying off the map. Frangible could also be an option there, so I don't think there's really a fantastic choice, but there's also not a terrible choice. I'll go for Subsonic for the point of the video. Also going for polymer here, better control, definitely need that. Gung Ho is awesome on this setup because it eliminates all the sprint to fire. Then perk 2, fully loaded, or honestly even on hand for the better ADS. Both of those are really good choices. Like I said though, this is close range only, but man, is it good for close range fights. And then lastly for the AMAX, this one is super basic of course because it's an MW gun. Monolithic suppressor, Zodiac barrel, commando foregrip, or the tac laser. If you're really comfortable with the control, run tac laser and just see how you like it because it's so much more aggressive with that on there. Also going for the 45 round mags, and of course the VOK 3 times optic to close things out there. No surprises with this one, no changes with this setup, but it still is an absolute beast here, even this much longer after being, introduced into the game. That said though, that is where the current rifle meta stands. That's gonna wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, be sure to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. That way you can always stay up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.